Hello. I have just finished my first recording with Izzy, who is another my new friends. We have been in contact once before. We had a Zoom call a month or two ago, and she's an interesting person with an interesting story. And I asked her if she wanted to be on the second season, and she said yes. So here we are. And surprisingly, this turned into kind of a health conversation. We have been talking about walking barefoot, barefoot shoes, walking and such, knowing your body, doing weightlifting training, and jujitsu and lindy hop and whatnot. And then we turned to burnout. So, these conversations, they just kind of take on a life of their own and lead us wherever it wants to go. It's quite interesting. So I hope you enjoy. Good.
How are you doing?
I am doing fine. I
You look
have,
lovely.
thank you.
I love your
I've had a,
glasses.
I love them too, actually. It's thanks to Gary, who was on season one, that I have these glasses. Because when I was going to buy new glasses in the fall a year ago, and he said, "May I come with a suggestion?" And I said, "Yes, you may."
Hmm.
And he said, "Go for something playful." And so, because I've had, like basically metal glasses with either black or nothing,
Yeah.
for the longest of time. And so he was like, okay, I'm going in here with another mission. So I do love them actually. But I've had a lovely morning, nice and slow, puttering about, reading and writing and taking a short barefoot walk and,
Oh,
having
that's
some
nice.
breakfast.
When did you start with barefoot walking?
Well, I started with barefoot shoes in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somewhere along the line of, well, probably not far after 2015, 16, I started to walk barefoot, but mostly just in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, and not so often. And since then, so now so far, I'm doing a barefoot walk almost every day.
Oh,
Um,
that's.
it's
But would you go like only to like forest or like ground,
both
proper
and
ground, or like asphalt also city?
asphalt also. I don't really have a problem walking barefoot anywhere. And,
Mm-hmm.
I can go grocery shopping barefoot. I
Mm-hmm.
don't mind. I live right next to a recreational area. That's perfect. And I can walk the streets here. I can get into town too. So I don't see much of a problem with it. The only thing is barefoot or with barefoot shoes, if I'm walking for a full day, if I'm sightseeing in a city for a
Yeah.
full day on flat terrain,
Yeah.
that gets tricky. So then
Yes,
I need to
definitely.
care for myself some extra because we're built to walk barefoot, even though most of us have kind of forgotten because we put our
Yeah.
feet
Yeah.
into shoes, but we're not built to walk barefoot on even ground, even
Precisely.
hard ground. Um,
Precisely. Because imagine myself that many, many years ago when people actually were walking bare feet
yeah,
or barefoot, they didn't have asphalt. They didn't have this
no,
hard terrain. They just had
no,
normal ground, grass, and therefore,
yeah, yeah,
that's not what we are used to. Yeah,
no, yeah,
precisely.
yeah.
Mm,
But I mean, it's interesting to notice that ever since I started to wear barefoot shoes or walk barefoot, I gravitate, so there's a sidewalk, but there's a strip of grass next to it. I get up on the strip of grass,
yep.
you know?
Yes. Yes.
So it's like because I feel how hard it is. I can feel that in my feet. So with normal shoes, which would say aren't natural. It's normal, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
natural. I'm insulated from the sensation of what I'm walking on because
Yeah.
that's what
Yes.
modern shoes does.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a super I mean, my sensation of the body and of my presence in the world, if I'm walking about, is completely different when I'm barefoot or in barefoot shoes
Yeah.
because I can feel I'm connected. I
Yes.
can
Yeah.
feel a little pep. I can feel the cracks in the pavement.
Have you ever injured your foot by walking bare feet, like on asphalt or ground? Because like now a lot of glass will be
Basic,
there.
there isn't that much glass, honestly, where I'm
Mm,
walking.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's like so. Well, yeah, sure, I've stepped on a sharp stone or, something, but I've injured myself probably more with shoes because then, it's much easier to sprain your ankle and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
it's much harder to do that in barefoot shoes because you're already on the ground. If
Yes.
you're up, it's much easier to sprain yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I haven't had I don't for me, that's not an issue.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I would be like, I tried it once in my life when I was in the mountains, and I was like, I will be walking barefoot here. The grass looks wonderful. It's early morning, so there was still a little bit
uh,
rain on the morning. I do not know how
do,
to say.
do,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. So it was on the grass, and I took off my shoes and started walking barefoot. It was so amazing. It was a really nice experience. But here, I mean, sometimes if I'm in the park and in summer, obviously, because now in winter it's too cold for me to go and do some exercises in the park. I wouldn't do it that often, but sometimes happen to me that I would go to the park, take off my shoes, and do some stretches there in the park on the grass. So it feels amazing.
Mm.
It feels really nice. But I never tried walking barefoot on like in the city, asphalt, hard terrain. Yeah, it wasn't brave enough to try this.
So the interesting, I mean, because I'm kind of into this. Um, I think it's really, really interesting. Prior to me getting into barefoot shoes, I had been um, working on how I walk because I had a lot of pronation and I kind of, my shoes were unevenly um, used.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of hurt me. So I was working with a mensendick therapist to sort of to find a way of meeting the earth more
Gently.
consciously,
Yeah.
right? So I shifted the way I walked way before, like 8 years before I went into barefoot shoes. So when I then went into barefoot shoes, I realized, okay, there's more of a need to change the way I walk and how I meet the earth. And so I went to a walk feeling, run feeling academy here in Sweden and was helped to basically change the pattern because when you're in modern shoes, you can, it doesn't hurt you. Obviously, it doesn't hurt you. I mean, it's not obvious that it hurts you the way
Yeah.
that you walk. You can walk really
Yeah.
hard, really
Yeah. Yeah.
fast, really hitting your
Yeah.
heel into the ground, right?
Yeah.
Which the shoe kind of takes care of, but there is forces going up. So the heel, the knee, the hip,
Yeah. Yeah.
the shoulders, the neck, so those forces are still there. It's just that we've kind of gotten numb to them
Mm,
until we get back problems and neck problems and hip problems and knee problems,
yeah.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I've relearned how to walk in a sense. So
Yes.
when and this is part of the reason why I walk much slower today.
Mm,
Normally, when I'm walking, I walk fairly slow. I used to be one of those,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and heels down hard. It's like I don't walk like that anymore.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a quick walker usually, unless I'm in the park. So I'm trying to enjoy what's around and experience everything.
Yeah.
And I became much more aware of that recently, or recently, several months ago. Like, try to really be in a moment, experiencing what's around. And yeah, but I'm generally a very quick walker.
Because
Yeah.
this is interesting. I have a sense that if we walk, if you look at the anatomy of humans and kind of the history of humans, the long arc of it, it's like when we walk and it's kind of slow
Mm,
because it is
mm,
that. If we need to go fast, we are supposed to be running, you know,
mm, yeah.
this running or the trotting that you can see still in, Bushmen in Africa who can just they can be lightly running for hours on end.
Mm,
Modern man, thanks to modern shoes, has kind of translated that into walking really fast,
yeah.
which then again it actually hurts the kind of the joint system in the body because
Yeah.
we're not supposed to do that. Either we walk and then it's slow, or we run. It doesn't have to be a fast run, but one of those trots where you can just keep on
Yeah.
going forever
Yeah.
and ever and ever. and
Yeah.
and we have kind of gone, we do the walking fast instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um
And would you say that because since when you walk bare feet, do you feel less complaints in your body, in the rest of your body? Wow, that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten my but then again, I've been kind of, I've been, I was going to say awakening my body, but I actually think it's the other way around. It's me getting aware of my body because it's always
Mm.
been there. It's just I've kind of been one of
Yes.
those, talking heads, a head with 2 feet on it and nothing in between. It's like I'm coming to understand and see and feel and listen to and
Mm.
perceive signals from my body in a really different way. So I move a lot more in the day now. Even though, I can sit a full day in front of the computer, I'm still moving much more than I
Mm.
did just 10 years ago. Because
Yeah.
I will be
Mm.
shifting the way I sit and I will, it's like, so I'm much more conscious of the fact that here's a full body and the body is made for movement.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I have like if I train, and by training I mean going to the gym, doing some lifting, because it's something I enjoy. Uh, as long as I do it, let's say twice a week, as kind of minimum, uh, I don't have any like pain in my back, or like I feel more like uh, more simply more alive, like more awakened to everything, and being ready to respond to whatever what comes my way. Um, but I just feel moving, being able to go to the gym and do this lifting, no matter the weight. I feel like I have less. It helped me with the pain in my body. Because otherwise, like each time I feel like, oh, my lower back is getting there, like I feel like I'm start having some pain in my lower back. And it may be from sitting, maybe from lack of movement, or maybe incorrect movement, or maybe I did something too quickly and then I pulled some muscles. As long as I go to the gym, I do some squats, deadlifts, especially the deadlift done right, because in the past I would do it incorrectly. But if you do it right, oh my gosh, it's like whole pain is just going away. It's like I feel in my back, it's getting stronger. I think it was deadlift and pull-ups also. Those two things really kind of seems to be going together for me and helping me with any kind of aches in the body.
And it's so interesting to hear you say this because one, it's like I've just never been able to figure out to take myself to a gym, either to do classes or anything. It's like, so I do a morning a routine of 7 minutes of movement, whatever it is. I can,
Mm,
do sit ups and squats and whatnot, or I dance for 7 minutes, or,
Mhm.
any type of something for 7 minutes. And I've done that for like more than 2,600 days in a row. So that's coming up to be a long time by now. But there's something in me that for the past couple of years, I'm wanting to find somebody who will help me lift, who will help me do
Mm.
weights, strength training that way in a good way.
Mm.
Because, like you say, it needs to be done correctly.
Yeah,
And I wanted locally. And so he's like, I've just not really done anything about that, but it's still it's building up in me this kind of desire to actually do that, because I think strength training with weights like that can be really, really beneficial
it
if, as you
is.
say, it's done right.
It is because there were, I don't remember precisely what research was that I have heard of, but there was a research where said that strength training is actually beneficial for the way your brain works. So that's like for me, it's like that's one of the main reasons why I will be going to the gym and doing
Mm,
the strength training. But I also know that a lot of people do have that notion of I don't want to really go to the gym, and I can understand how in some sense terrifying it can be. Like when you get into that environment and there is everyone lifting, dropping weights, and you're looking, I don't know, buffy or like big. And
mm,
it's, at the moment, I find it kind of funny slash interesting to see that
mm,
and how the interaction is there in the gym. I think it's also to find it's necessary to find the gym that feels right for you.
yeah,
I never was, I never felt as comfortable in the gyms that like very high end gyms where everyone is a little bit too polished. I rather would go to those gyms where everyone, like different
mm,
people, like they just
yeah.
keep on trying. They're starting. They're maybe not
And
looking.
maybe they're just in a scruffy old t-shirts and
Yeah,
some
yeah,
sweatpants, and
exactly,
not the
exactly.
high
Yeah,
fashion leotards,
yeah. Because
Yeah.
for me, it's like, when I go work out, when I go do the training, I go do the training. I sweat, my face gets red. And often happens to me that people go and ask, it's like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fantastic, Yeah, but my face gets so intensely red. And I sometimes when I do jiu-jitsu, so that's another thing I do. And we do sparring. Again, my face gets really red. My hair gets sweaty, yes. But I am there to train. I am there to sweat. And it's not a fashion show for me.
Mm,
I to do those exercises. And uh, to be honest, I think going back to the deadlift situation, and I found actually some good videos on YouTube. So I had previous knowledge how to do deadlifts and like personal trainer and everything because I did some certifications for this and
mm,
biomechanics movement coach. So I did have a knowledge of how body works and how to work with different weights and different exercises. Um, I do have pretty good awareness of my body, like when it comes to doing exercises and knowing how my body moves and what should be corrected. And then I found really good videos. I'm going to send you the link.
cool.
But I'll try to dig through those links on YouTube that I have and try to find that video for you. Because the guy explains deadlifts very well. And for me, it was like, yes, I finally found something that explains all the range of this exercise because there are different types of deadlift. And he explains in the way that I understand, and I can go and try by myself
Mm,
in the gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is a gym not far from here that could work for me. I'm a little bit envious. My brother, he has an office, and at that place there's a gym. So he can, in the morning he goes to the gym just for 20, 30 minutes,
Mm,
and then, gets on with the day. And he can do that 5 days a week, because then he alternates what he
Yeah.
does, 3 to 5 days a week. And it's like finding that kind of the way it flows into the day. I think that's more what I have this, oh, everybody's going to look at me and they're going to think that I'm really bad at this and whatnot. I have that too, but it's more a fact of kind of, I work a lot from home. It's like, how do I schedule it in and where? And then I have to take myself and do it and then take myself away. And then it takes so much time. So it's like, it's all of these excuses,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I
So
know what you mean.
finding a way that it flows so maybe I should actually check out the gym that's local because that's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
10-minute walk.
Yeah.
I could do a
Exactly.
barefoot walk there.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. This is the thing. I had to find a gym that's also close to me.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't motivate myself sometimes because it was just too far. And it really, in reality, it wasn't that far. But then I changed the gym and it's much closer. And I really go there. Though I do understand what you mean by finding the flow. Make th- this activity into your day, make it flow into your day. I do struggle with this too. And I'm aware of all the excuses, and it's all arranging your day, planning your day appropriately, and the things that you agree on and prioritize. And to be honest, moving and going to the gym, uh, it's one of the priorities for me. But sometimes it's just, yeah, I think it's like if you get into the habit. So going to the gym, I think my partner, he says like you need to work on that habit when you're at your best, but because when you're at your worst, you will have that habit. You will know the benefits of it, and then you will just do it anyway, despite the fact you feel bad, that you feel like not going. But you need to work on getting that habit, and I think it takes a long time to actually create that habit of going to or doing something. But I also think if you're aware of the benefits that can give you going to the gym, and I'm not saying you need to do, I don't know, strongman workout or I don't know, CrossFit workout. Yes, just finding a routine, just finding someone who maybe can create a workout for
Yeah.
you. I think it's an investment worth doing to find someone really good who can measure your fitness level, let's call
Yeah.
it like,
Yeah.
of how your body moves and create a program for you. And then, let's say after 6 or 8 weeks, check it again. What's the change? Yes.
Mm.
Mm, Potentially it will be a progress. Yes. And it's also good if you know what you are looking for in improvement, as an improvement. What do you want to change in your, let's say, body? Not as an appearance, but also inside. How do you want to feel? Why would you do that workout? Well, for me, benefits are obvious, but you know, everyone may have a different goal. But again, I think finding a right trainer, even someone that sets plan for you, doesn't have to be with you there every day, because I think a goal is for you to have a habit, not for the trainer to keep pushing you. But having someone who will kind of help you to get into it, explains you like the, the basics or shows you how to do the
Yeah.
exercises, that it's very helpful. But it's also, I think, sometimes quite hard to find the right trainer with whom you will click and who will be
Yep.
the right level
Which
of
which then
education.
kind of for me turns into another excuse of why
Yes.
I'm not right. But
Yeah.
I'm part of my coming aware of my body in these past 10
Mm,
years has been there's a growing want, I'd say, for me to be strong, for my body to be capable, to be
mhm.
able, not to be able to lift X kilos. That's not of
No.
interest, but just being able to work and function in the world in such a way that my body isn't the limit, you
Hmm.
know, uh,
Precisely.
that's kind of one of the things that I think is the reason why I am moving and walking and being aware of how I'm, how's my shoulders and where's my hands
Yeah.
on my, it's like, so there's a lot of growing awareness there. Um, and I think what we're talking about is kind of okay, yeah. I'm coming up towards the fact that this is actually the next level and it's now.
Mm. Mm.
Um
Yeah. I also, find out that doing doing the activities, do like going to the gym, lifting, or training martial arts. In my case, at the moment, it's jujitsu. In the past, was boxing. Helps me a lot to deal with things. Like now, when I was going through the burnout, the Jiu-jitsu was the thing that kind of helped me actually to cope. Being able to go to the gym and do those squats and do the lifts helped me to cope. Like I somehow I found like a strength to deal with other things. I often also talk with my partner that actually because Jiu-jitsu is a sport where you like contact with another person, but also it's very unexpected. So and you do this and the other person will do something else and you never know because you are not sitting in this other person's head. So you learn to deal with unexpected things. You're kind of trying to resolve things, like a puzzle. So and it translates to real life where you have
Mm,
things, obstacles, smaller or bigger, things that you have to deal daily. And sometimes, especially now in time of COVID, when everyone was separated, lockdown, and it had tremendous impact on people's mental health.
mm,
When you have all those smaller obstacles, bigger obstacles, this training Jiu-jitsu in my case helped me to deal with those things
mm,
a lot. If not the fact that I was doing sports, that I was able to go to the gym to do the lifts, that I was able to do jiu-jitsu, I don't know where I would be, like with my mental state. Because yeah, it's weird. It's like when I get there to jujitsu, it's like I feel like 100% better. It's all the worries kind of go away and you focus on being in this smaller tribe of people that they understand you and all of them are different age, different background, different problems they deal with, but somehow when we meet there on the maps, it's just all the problems go away and we deal with what we have there. And this somehow translates to our normal life, yes, like day to day life, where we have to deal with things. And if you would ever had the chance to, like, did you do jujitsu? Was it you who told me that? No.
nope.
But if
I've
you would
never
ever had
done
the
any
chance,
martial
I would.
arts.
I
No.
would recommend to do jujitsu. Find a good school. Well, it's not like we will beat you up and show you what is your place. No, find one day where they have the right approach and try it. It's really and the most beautiful thing is that the age doesn't really matter. The weight doesn't really matter. Just a lot of people who had some problems with the weight, gaining or losing weight, they started actually achieving that goal of not being obese or not being underweight, yes, because or you start eating more or you eat less and you train more and maybe you start some lifting also to go together with your jiu-jitsu to be stronger. So I think like any physical activity is so necessary for the mental health.
Yeah.
It's,
I do lindy hop and so dancing, swing
mm,
dancing,
that's
and
nice.
I love it. I've done it. I did it a long time ago and then I stopped and then I started again in 2018, I think. And then it kind of stopped for a year during COVID. But but now it's back on again. And so I was lindy hopping lesson 4 out of 10 for the season yesterday, last night.
Mhm.
And it is so lovely. It is that. Yes, you get sweaty and yes, you move. And yesterday we were doing twists where you kind of, and doing that for 10-20 minutes, man, there's some move muscles there that you just don't use normally, right?
Yeah.
But but what you said about this, you come up in jujitsu against somebody who does something else and you don't know it's unexpected. I'm the follower, and then there's the lead that I dance with, right? And you just never know what they will be leading me to. And I'm noticing in myself today, I'm a much better follower because I'm learning how to follow.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
learning how to pick up the signals, the subtle signals, and not think I know what he's going to do and doing it, even if the signals aren't there. Right. So when I started again in 2018-19, it was harder for me to let go of that because it was like,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to do this thing and I know what we're going to be doing. So I did that without the lead actually leading it.
Okay, gotcha.
But so yesterday there's one man who's really good. Um, he's he's such an easy lead to follow, right? He's very clear. And so he was playing around and sort of throwing in lots of moves that I have no clue about, right? And it's like it's interesting. So I come up against this now and again. It's like, oh, now he's leading me into something that I don't know. And I kind of go, it's like it goes bonkers. And so I asked him, what was I supposed to do there? Was I supposed to, twist and turn or this and that? And doing it a couple of times and then, okay, now I get it,
Yeah.
right? So I'm much more aware of my ability to pick up on signals.
I think it's like I wonder if it's like learning how to follow, or maybe you learn to listen. So picking up the signals, because I think
Yeah.
it's that, like you kind of get yourself open to listen what
Yes.
others have to
Yeah.
say or show,
Yeah.
and then kind of in some way you're open to learning. Like
Yeah.
you know that there is
Yeah.
so much to discover, and you find patience, you wait, and then see what will come.
And it's a the feeling is one of being in flow.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And because for me, flow isn't, oh, here's an obstacle and I won't ever come towards it. That's not flow.
No, no,
Flow
no,
is
no,
here's
no.
an obstacle. How can I move around it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what flow is. So that's the sensation I have of last night's lesson. It's like being in flow where you kind of bump up against something and then you kind of, you find a way
Yeah.
to be with that. How do okay, whoops, and then, I
Yeah.
laugh like
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
it's just hilarious. And it is such a lovely way to move my entire body. And then, the
Yeah.
music to it, and it's just I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love music too, frankly. Like sometimes when I'm alone at home, I'll just dance a little bit. I play something out loud. Also, often for cleaning, like when I clean, I
Yeah.
play loud music, sing, drink,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
dance a little bit, move. Love it.
That's the only way I can clean. I don't enjoy cleaning, so I turn on my best dance music and I'm just belting away as I'm, dusting and vacuuming and whatnot, because that's the only way to make it actually kind of fun.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. I,
yeah.
I don't like cleaning either. No. It's
Mm,
like sometimes for me, waste of time. Like I could put the energy to
mm,
something else. I
mm,
remember that when I was living with my housemate, we both here in Amsterdam, we both at some point decided it's not like we are dirty people. It's just we like cleanness. We like to have it clean, but just to get yourself to doing that task, that's a challenge. So we actually found someone who would do cleaning for us, and that time we actually we figure out that it was actually beneficial, more beneficial for us to pay that person to do the cleaning for 3 4 hours of the house, and we would just go to like a coffee place, and work from there, or do some other things that we had to do like on the computer. So later we can have like free time for us, sitting, watching some films and enjoying. So yeah, I think that was one of the ways I decided to go around this particular task.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one way to flow with it.
Yeah, one way to avoid it.
Well, yes, and it's getting done, right?
Yes,
So it's
yes,
not being avoided like
yeah.
permanently. It is being done. Just finding a way to flow with it, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your burnout, like, do you like feel like are you out of that, or is it still a work in progress, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it's still work in progress, though very much ahead work in progress than just, um, like, I don't know if you only, at some point, one more time. I don't know if at some point I will be like 100% sure that I'm out of it, because I don't know what's the notion of being out of it. Like, how do you feel when you're out of it? Because I think I will always feel certain anxiety sometimes when doing stuff. I guess it just, if I'm feeling brave enough to actually approach those stuff and actually do it. Um, so I if I will feel like, "Oh, yeah, it gives me a little bit of stress or a little bit of an anxiety, but that's fine because I want to face it. I want to do it." And I think maybe that's some sort of signal of feeling like I'm ready to rumble. Um, but it's hard to say, to know if you are completely out of it. I don't know what's the definition of being completely out of it. I spoke with a few people who went through the same, and I they couldn't define for me neither. Um, and it's definitely work in progress, but it's so much better than it was in the beginning. And it's weird because for me, I kind of was ignorant toward burnout, and like that's not a thing that would ever happen to me. That was my thought. If you would have asked me, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, that would be my thought. And I've been always taught to push harder,
Mm.
to just, there's nothing that
Power
you
through
can,
it, power
yeah,
through
yeah,
it.
power through
Yeah.
it. There's nothing you cannot do. You will do it. If you have to do it, you will do it. If you have to wake up and work 10 hours, you will do it. And and if you have to repeat this day after day, well, it's something people do. People work, people earn money, have to do it. And I was really, like I'm saying, karma bites you in the ass, because I was really ignorant toward it, and here it comes for you on the plate. Yes. And but it was very unexpected. I didn't know till I met the psychologist, and he actually told me that, well, you go through a burnout. It's serious thing, and you need to start taking care of yourself, because otherwise, even I won't be able to help you.
Mm.
Give another 2 to 4 weeks, and we will be in a very bad situation. Uh, and that was like a waking up moment for me when I heard it from him. I was like, oh no, I need to really take care of myself. And I called with the employer. I said, "Look, I'm very sorry, but I'm not coming to work at least for 2 weeks." Well, and now we are 8 months through or 7 months through, and I still cannot work. Yes, and there's not like it's not predictable. Like you cannot predict. So okay, in 2 months I will be fine. Yeah, I will be fully recovered because you don't know, and the ups and downs are keep on happening. So it's better. Definitely, it's better. But um, yeah, and I wouldn't wish anyone to really go through it. It's really dark, deep hole in the beginning. Something, especially if someone is not accustomed to getting help from a specialist like psychologist, or is not accustomed to talk about those things like mental health, um, and never had like how to say it. Like I want to say that it wasn't really an option for you. Like having mental health problems wasn't an option. In the past when I was growing up, it wasn't like, oh, maybe something like this. Maybe that we should consider going to psychologists is a mental health problem, or even mention of it. Like because I include burnout in this mental health problems. Um. So yeah, I think in my country, in Poland, mm, the burnout thing is still very much dismissed. It's not something people are very much aware of, and would use it as a sick leave, let's say, to break from work. No, unless you're a sneezy coffee and,
Okay, or
40
have a
days,
fever.
yeah, have
Yeah.
a fever in the bed, then you're sick. You have physical symptoms, and then you can stay home,
Yeah.
So it was a tough time to knowing and to admitting to it, you know?
But it's interesting that when you say that it wasn't an option for you, I had that same reaction. So when my first was born,
Mm,
I had just gone through um, a divorce.
mm,
Like we filed for a divorce 5 days or something before she was born.
wow.
Right. So, I mean, really just there. Right. And so I find myself, because I was unemployed,
Mm,
divorced, single mom, and I'm
wow.
going, this cannot happen to me. I'm well educated. I come from good upbringing background. It's like, how? It's like I was ticking off all of these things going, this does
Yeah,
not fit my image of me. You
yeah.
know, how could this have happened to me? But I mean, it was kind of hard not to face that reality because it was the
Yes.
reality, right? But I remember the sensation of not wanting to acknowledge the fact that I actually am ticking off all of these things. You're supposed to
Mm,
be, single, divorced moms with kids. It's like they're supposed to be with bunny ears. They're supposed to be, maybe they didn't even finish high school and they
yeah.
have these lowly jobs or whatnot. That's or they have pains and aches and that's those people, right?
Mm,
Can't
yeah.
fit in. And here I was, university educated and even just
Yeah.
totally twisted my view of me. And all of a sudden, I think opened me up to the fact that shit can happen to any of us. It
Mm,
doesn't matter what we think is okay for someone like me.
yes. Yeah.
It comes
Yeah.
because it comes.
Yeah. As I'm saying, karma bites in yes. Like you have a certain point of view, and um, it's like, not ain't going to happen to me. Whoops, it's happening to me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
have.
how did you, what helps you to deal with all these obstacles that at that time that, divorce, baby,
So yeah, so my then husband, he called to break up with me 5 weeks before our baby was born. Um and what I did was basically reach out. I asked for help
mm,
and I talked to people. I have prior to that, I was 27. Prior to that, I'd had, it was my habit to keep things inside,
Mhm.
and I had a really, really harsh dialogue, internal dialogue. So I would keep things inside. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
just somehow understood that if I continue with that, given the fact where I am about to become a first time mom, this will be really, really bad for both me and my kid.
Yeah.
Um, so I turned that internal dialogue out and had conversations with my brother, for instance, and my mother and my father and my friends and stuff. And I also asked for help. So when Alex was born and I was coming home from the maternity ward, um, my mom, I came home on a Thursday, and my mom was coming to stay Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Mhm.
because I didn't want to be alone those
Yes.
first
Yeah.
few days, right? So I had another one of my dearest friends, Jenny. She came on that Thursday to stay and
Mm.
feed me and stuff. And then my mom
Yeah.
came and stayed and fed me. And it's like, so I think those two things are probably what saved me, that I
Yeah.
asked for help and that I didn't keep all of the thoughts and the anxiety and the worry and the anger and the frustration and the confusion and the sadness and the grief, all
Yeah.
of that. I didn't keep it in. I I
Inside.
I shared it with others. Because
It's it.
otherwise it would have
Mm.
just festered inside.
Precisely. It's interesting because in the past, I would just keep things inside. I'll just, um, put them, like, keep them inside and it's like try to forget about this. But I think, um, what was happening actually, it's that they were staying there in the back of my head and somehow accumulating. And I feel like also in the relationships, in the past relationships, I would be like, keeping the feelings to myself. I wouldn't consider a conversation, an open conversation to. I wasn't. I think strong enough to have a conversation where I can openly discuss some problems or things that bother me in the relationships that I had. I wasn't able to openly discuss it. Um, so yeah, but again, everything like taught, like it was a lesson for me, and I tried to approach the things differently. And when with the burnout in the beginning, I actually didn't feel at all like seeing, meeting people, like talking to anyone. Uh, and I was really refusing it. And I'm generally very like social person, open person. Um, I like talking to people. I like being in between different, open-minded, interesting people. And when for some time, I just didn't feel like doing that. I didn't feel like going out, meeting with friends, talking with friends. And I yet didn't know then that, well, it's burnout happening, or I'm on the way to burnout, or something like this. And then when the psychologist told me that, well, that's burnout, you're dealing with burnout. And I still, for some month or two, I was really refusing to meet anyone. Like I was very antisocial. And then after a few months, he says to me, like, well, you need to really try, because one of the things you need to do, go meet people, go talk with people who um have similar experience to yours, if you know anyone like this. So, like, it's apparently one of the important things that one should do when it comes to dealing with things like burnout, or perhaps other things that you mentioned, to not keep it inside, but to have an honest conversation, probably with someone you trust, because it's also there is a matter of like talking to someone who doesn't care, who doesn't, yeah, give a
Yeah.
fuck,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Um,
That doesn't help.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
but
talking to someone who would truly support you and
yeah.
would be able to listen. Yeah, to listen.
And it's I mean, for me, this past season of the podcast has really highlighted that for me that
Mm,
I ever since that pivotal moment 22 years ago, it's like I make sense of the world that is mine by writing about it and by talking about it or by sharing the writing and getting feedback on the writing or what happens in people who read it and stuff. So it's a way for me to kind of keep clean the house that is
mm,
me on the inside, right?
mm,
It
mm.
is this thing of just doing it's like maintenance, right? If
Yeah,
you don't deal with it, well, it's gonna start to rot
mm,
somewhere inside. There's so much piles of shit in there that
yeah,
it's gonna start to rot and fester and really turn nasty. So doing that really, really helps. And I have I have a lot of I have a lot of really, really good friends that I feel very safe in talking with. And we do have a relationship where it's like it's possible to bring up, you know,
yeah,
questions or thoughts or concerns or worries or this is what I'm ashamed of, or, just
precisely.
to kind of keep it. That's another type of movement, right? If you
Yeah,
don't,
yeah,
it stays still and that means stasis, which kind of translates into death. It's like it
yeah,
it
yeah,
needs to be in movement. We need to be in movement.
yeah.
Um
That's a nice transition from what we were talking in the beginning, like the the body needs movement,
yeah,
physical, like some activity, and well, same with your inner state.
yeah,
It has to, as you say, move somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, mm,
And it's interesting for me how like I do therapy with my friend Dominic, process oriented therapy, which is just amazing. And he's that type of therapy is kind of both, spoken word, but also the movement, also what's happening in my body.
mm,
So I was on Monday, I was in therapy session and I was describing feeling like I'm in a roundabout, as if I don't know what exit to take, right? It's like I'm in this roundabout.
yeah,
I don't know what's the signal, how to get off this thing. And he was picking up on the fact that my exits were so sharp, like this, like cutting.
mm, mm,
So he picked up on that and we started to play with the movements of this. What happens if I go the other way around? What happens if the the exit movements are the other way around? What happens if they're slower? It's like
yeah,
and it just that the movement translates into another type of feeling sensation within
mm,
me, which I can then, with his help, kind of try to put words to. And it's a type of dancing within me.
yes, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Something what you really enjoy doing,
something
and
that I really enjoy doing. Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. I mean,
And feeling the difference in the when he was showing me how I was, doing the roundabout and these exit sharp, jagged emotions. I was just cringing, going, "Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want to
mm,
look at it. I don't want to do it." And he was like,
mm,
"Do it." And I was like, "No, I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel right."
yeah,
Because it doesn't feel right, right? And I can sense that.
mm,
And all of a sudden, something can start to shift.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking, like we as human beings, as people, we often have very different approach to ourselves. We probably wouldn't treat another human being the same way as we sometimes talk to ourselves or treat ourselves. And we would be much more careful with someone else. And then when it comes to us, I do it so often. And I now I can recognize it, and it makes me sometimes upset that I talk to myself in such a hard way. Like, I'm really hard on myself, you know? I have so extremely high expectations, and there is no way of being nicer to myself. Like, I do it to myself. And yeah, it's just such a strange thing that I notice a lot of other people do to themselves. You know, when you talk to yourself, you're just not so nice. Like you wouldn't talk to your friend like this.
No,
So why
no,
not you talk to yourself like this? Why
yeah,
don't you allow yourself some time to rest,
yeah,
some time to
yeah.
recharge, some time to have this downtime and be okay with that. And that was another thing that I had to learn like during burnout because I was like,
Yeah.
how am I going to be on a sick leave so long? And you know, first my first thought was like, I'm going to do so much like sick
At
leave.
home, yeah.
Like, yeah, at home,
Clean and
and
paint and sort out all
yes,
of the old
yes,
photos and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Keep cooking. There's like meal prep going. So okay, I will go to the gym. I will be very systematic. And to be honest, I did not feel like doing any of that. I was getting
No.
tired so quickly. I would like some days I would wake up and feel like doing nothing else. I'll just switch on the computer, play some series on the computer, and watch it. I really wasn't able physically and
Mm,
mentally to pick a task, even if it would be cleaning the house or going to grocery store. And it's funny now because now I'm like, getting better and things. "Okay, I will rock everything. I'll be ready." It's like, hell yeah, I can do so many things. And then I start doing a task and like 2, 3 hours later, I'm just, the energy goes like, down.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I spoke with a friend about this. She went through similar thing, and she reminded me it's like muscle memory. Like
yeah,
if you go to the gym, your first time in the gym, you're not going to lift 150 kilos in the first session. You're going to kill yourself, or you're not going to do an intense workout for 1 hour or 1.5 hour. No, you will build up to it. And
yeah,
same with mental capacity of doing things, like you're not going to jump from nothing to something. You have to train this
yeah.
specific muscle to be able to be active for a little bit longer than 2 hours. Yes. So that was a good reminder, for me also to take it easy and to work that it's a process. To know that it's a
Yeah,
process.
and I think that's one of the underlying like mandatory ingredients in burnout is the inability or the non-presence of resting.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
people who are
mm.
good at resting, they won't be
Yeah,
burnt out,
I
right? It's
was
like
shit
because
at resting. Yeah, I was horrible.
which is what everybody
Mm,
that I've spoken to say. But it's interesting. I was laughing when you spoke about the harsh inner dialogue because
mhm.
I'll send you a gift code so that you can download either my ebook or my audiobook because
Yeah.
it's Doing Gentle with an Edge and it is just about that. Because I used to be extremely harsh with myself, but I have found ways of playing with this, of
Okay.
unlearning old habits and then, okay, now I need to fill it with something else. And the unlearning was in a sense kind of easier once I'd figured out that, oh, I'm harsh with myself. But then what do I replace it with?
Mm,
So actually doing gentle was like, how do you do that? I don't
yeah.
know.
I do.
Right?
I do have your ebook. I do have your ebook. I will jump on it, and
Good.
I remember I read few first pages, and it was really nicely written, like really gently written. I liked reading it. So, but then I jumped to different books because, yeah, I have that habit of like,
That's life.
whatever I have to need as priority, I jump into it. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'll definitely go through it. I'm interested what I will find there when I go
And do
further.
and see
Mm-hmm.
what in it resonates that you can play with in your way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's kind of the message that I want to give out. It's like it's not a recipe. This is how you do it. It is more inspiration. This is how you
Yeah.
could be doing it. Find your way of playing. Find your way of observing your inner dialogue. Find your way of shifting out words. It's like
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
you'll play with it. I think that's the, playing and then experimenting. And with that, like we said before, with the openness, with the jujitsu or
Yeah.
lindy hop way of like, okay, I'm open to what will come because I really don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Precisely. Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Cool. Well, maybe that's a good way for us to end, Izzy, so that you can get on with your day.
Yeah. Clean.
Okay, I won't be cleaning.
Oh, the favorite
Uh,
task.
but if you put on some music,
I will do that definitely. That's
yep,
must have for me. Okay, let's be
yeah,
honest. Must have. If I do it by myself, I need to have some music.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for today's conversation. And I really
yeah,
look forward to the next one.
I
I
do
think it will
too.
be super interesting.
Yeah. Let's see
Yeah.
where we end up there. This turned into kind of a health program.
Yes, you
It's
did.
like, and it's so interesting because like you just don't know. And I love that about these conversations. Like, you just don't know where they will end up.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So
I was
I'm,
also interested how, like, where it will go, how we're going to navigate through it. And yeah, it was fun, it was interesting, and I really enjoyed that.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
good. Thank you.
thank you.
So see you next time.